Hey book lovers, I'm Elise and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm very excited to talk about my top 10 books of 2024. Now, I do want to start this video off with some honorable mentions. These are books that I either really enjoyed or rated 5 stars, but they just didn't feel like a favorite to me. So in no particular order, here are some of my honorable mentions. The first is Red Clocks by Lainey Zumas, The Women by Kristen Hanna, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. Next is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, Loud by Drew Afawalo, The End of October by Lawrence Wright, Shark Heart by Emily Habeck. That's the end of my honorable mentions. So now let's get into my top 10. Coming in at number 10, The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. This book follows Sophie. She and her husband and their son move to this really ritzy neighborhood in, I believe it takes place in Texas. Sophie just basically becomes intertwined with this social circle of women, and they have this little club called The Hunting Wives, and they're all very, very well off, so this is definitely rich people drama, which is something that I really enjoy reading about. So one day the Hunting Wives invite Sophie to join one of their outings. They like to drink wine and do target practice with the shotgun, and then other times they like to go to the next town over and go to the bar and flirt with the young cowboys there. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was twisty and dark and salacious. Well, all my books just tumbled onto the floor and moved my camera. So, okay, I think we're good. Number 9, Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I don't typically gravitate towards YA books. I thought it was really well written. There's a lot of gothic vibes to it, which I adore. There's death personified in here, which I also am a huge fan of. This was a really good time. Signa has this power where she can't die. All of her caretakers end up dying. So she's orphaned when she's a baby, and like everyone that she's passed on to after that end up dying until she is like 19 or 20. She goes to some family member's estate and there's a bit of a mystery involved. It's kind of spooky, very atmospheric. Number 8, I need to look at the title on my phone because I can never remember. The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie by Frida McFadden. This is a satirical thriller novella. It was ridiculous. For me being so bitter about the thriller genre lately, this book was absolutely fantastic. As I mentioned, it is satirical. You follow this woman whose husband dies, and then all this stuff kind of starts happening and all these secrets come out of the woodwork, and the book like makes fun of itself. It makes fun of the thriller genre in general. Outrageous is the only word that I can use to describe it. I rolled my eyes and then chuckled about it. I laughed out loud multiple times. It's like the Scary Movie movies. You know, they're all making fun of the horror slasher movie genre in the most ridiculous way possible. That's what this book is for thriller books. On to number 7, The Clinic by Kate Quinn. This was another one that I was pleasantly surprised by, mostly because it is a thriller. I just got done saying that I try to steer clear of thrillers. This book follows Meg and her, I can't remember if it's like her twin sister or just her sister. Her sister went to this rehab clinic, but it's like a really ritzy, high-end rehab facility. I mean, it's in like this gorgeous Victorian mansion on a cliffside. It's got VIP clients, celebrities, you know, not just anyone can go there. Meg's sister goes there and she finds out that her sister is unalived, and she's led to believe that it was self-inflicted. But Meg is like, no, that my sister would never do that. So Meg goes undercover as a patient at this clinic. She's trying to investigate what really happened to her sister, because she's like, there's absolutely no way that my sister would have done that. There was actually a found family feeling with the other characters that you get to know. The way that this book turned out blew my mind. And I have said this time and time again, but if a book can blow my mind, then it automatically is going to be an all-time favorite. I think for a thriller, it did exactly what I needed it to do to enjoy it. I thought that it was atmospheric, and I really enjoyed the character work. On to number 6, we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This book did such an amazing job of just like pulling me right into this world. I loved every single one of the characters. I loved the conflict. I love how the conflict was resolved. I just loved everything, honestly. It's low stakes, but things definitely happen that kind of make you go like, oh, how's this gonna turn out? It's definitely cozy. I really enjoyed it. We are getting into my top 5. These books are like, chef's kiss. Number 5, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez she's different. She just kind of takes it to another level for me. And I think that that's really what I need to become obsessed with a book. This, of course, is part of the companion series that started with Part of Your World. This one follows Bree. She's a doctor. Her divorce is just about finalized. Her brother is really sick with kidney issues. So one day another doctor is hired at the hospital that Bree works at. He kind of comes with a reputation of being an a-hole. He's really kind of standoffish, unapproachable. So Bree kind of writes him off right away and assumes that he's just a jerk and she's just gonna kind of avoid him at all costs. They end up talking and they start forming this friendship that absolutely blossoms into love. So I love Jacob. Like I wouldn't love him for me, but I love him for Bree. He was kind of the anxiety representation in this book because he suffers big time from anxiety, social anxiety. And I feel like a lot of us, myself included, felt really seen in this book. Even so far as coming off as unapproachable when somebody doesn't know you very well because you have this wall that is really just like a defense mechanism. I loved this book so much. It tugged at my heartstrings. I cried. It was sweet. I was obsessed. All right, number 4, I do not have a copy of, but I will be purchasing one, and that is Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. When I started this book, I was immediately pulled into the story. We follow Saris. I can't remember her name. I feel like it's Saris. The place that she lives is like more of like a poor area. It's in the desert. Water is a hot commodity. She basically has to resort to thievery to survive. Something ends up happening and she's caught with an item that does not belong to her, and the penalty for that is death. But somehow she is saved by death. This portal opens up to another realm and he takes her there. He has his own agenda. He needs her to do this for him, and only then will he safely return her back home. I have so many chills talking about it. I can't stop thinking about it. Fisher. This book is very good. I loved the plot. It's quite steamy. There are so many good side characters. I loved it. Definitely, I think if you are a fan of ACOTAR, then this book would be right up your alley. Book number 3, Gothicana by Runic. This was my first ever dark romance. This was my first 5-star rating of 2024. I read this book in basically one sitting. I vlogged it earlier in the year. I think it was back in March. And I even say this in the vlog, the only reason that I put this book down one time was because my grandma called. And I'm kind of glad she did because then I was able to update the vlog. If she hadn't called, I would have blown through this entire book in one sitting. So this book follows Corvina Clem, and she is invited to this university. It's very Hogwarts-esque. You have to be invited in order to attend, but it's not like a high school, it's college. So she's like in her early 20s. The school's like at this old, dark, dreary castle. Oh, this book was so atmospheric. Oh my goodness. Like this dark, gothic, dreary castle. You meet a lot of the other students at the university, and you meet Vaude Deverell, he's a professor, but he's also a graduate student. Not that I'm justifying teacher-student relationships, but that's what this is. He's kind of the heartthrob. Even one of Corvina's classmates, or maybe it was her roommate, I can't remember, said, yeah, he's hot, but stay away from him. Does she? No, she doesn't. So they have a very steamy relationship. But this book is more than just a dark romantasy. So similar to Belladonna, this one also has a mystery at the heart of it. This was so good. And actually Runic has another dark romance called Enigma coming out this year. And as soon as I found that out, I'm like, yes, immediately yes. Number 2, Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is another dark romantasy. This one is also very gothic, very atmospheric. It takes place in New Orleans. So Ophelia and her sister, their mother is a necromancer. So she is able to see and communicate with people who have passed on. And she kind of makes a business out of it. So people will come to her to communicate with their dead loved ones. Their mom passes away unexpectedly, and Ophelia has to perform a ritual to essentially pass her mother's powers onto her before it's too late. Like there's a limited amount of time that they can do this. They end up finding out that their mom was up to something, had to use their manor, which has been in the family for a very, very long time, as collateral for something. And the payments weren't getting made. The bank is essentially going to repossess the home. So Ophelia's sister, she ends up behind Ophelia's back going to Phantasma. which is like this competition. And if she were to survive this competition, then they would easily be able to keep their home. But of course, Ophelia, as the older sister, she's like, what the heck? So she follows her sister to Phantasma. So what is Phantasma? Phantasma is a cursed manor full of twisting corridors and lavish ballrooms, staffed by enticing demons and fatal temptations. So there's 9 different levels, and each level is a trial that is led by a specific demon. Kind of similar to Squid Game. If you don't pass the level, you don't make it onto the next. It was phenomenal. This book had one of the most jaw-dropping moments that I've ever read in a book, ever. It worked for me. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the vibe. I'm obsessed with the story. And book number 2 does come out later this year in 2025. All right, we've made it to my number 1 book. I feel like after talking about all that dark romantasy, this one's like not quite as exciting. Regardless, it is still number 1 in my heart. And that is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This book, do you remember earlier when I was talking about yours truly? I said Abby Jimenez, she does something. She does something for me that no other romance author has done. And I don't know what it is, but she puts something in her books that I cannot resist. And every single one gets better and better. Like I'm almost terrified to read Say You'll Remember Me that comes out later this year, because if we keep on this trajectory, like I'm going to be absolutely ruined by that book. It's a little concerning. So this book follows Justin and Emma, who basically have this good luck Chuck curse where they date somebody, it inevitably doesn't work out, and then that person goes on to find the love of their life. They discover each other on like Reddit or some kind of online forum, and they're like, hey, we have the same, curse. Maybe we should date each other. It'll cancel out. Emma's a travel nurse with her bestie. When Emma and Justin kind of start talking online, he lives in Minnesota, and Emma's like, let's do our next stint in Minnesota. And so they do. I don't think I've ever cried. I mean, I've cried in books. There's a lot of books that I've cried in, but this one, and it's not even that it's like sad, it's just so touching and emotional and human. It is so human. And I think especially for somebody who dates men, having Justin, I don't even know. He's like the absolute perfect guy. He has things going on in his life. Something happens and he needs to temporarily have custody of his younger siblings. And just the way that he cares for his siblings is just amazing. The way that he cares for Emma and the things that he does for her, because Emma has a lot going on as well. She has a very toxic relationship with her mom, which becomes a pretty big part of this book. And so Emma has a lot of like coping issues. She tends to flee to avoid getting hurt. Just the way that Justin sees her and how he treats her, so much care, so much respect. And Justin is like the epitome of, if he wanted to, he would. Like you see that in memes all the time, or you see things online, and some of us have experienced it firsthand. Unfortunately, I've never dated a woman, so I can't speak to that, but being with a guy who he doesn't seem to put in the effort, or he like, oh, I wish he'd buy me flowers, or I wish he would do something more special for my birthday, or I wish he'd take care of me when I'm sick, things like that. And it's like that mantra that need to realize is, if he wanted to do those things, he would do those things. It's not that he's not capable, it's he just flat out doesn't want to. And Justin wants to, and he does. And I'm gonna get emotional talking about this book. Oh my goodness. It's so beautiful. I have a story on my Bookstagram saved. Like, I think it's under like book love or something, of books that I'm raving about, and then I finish reading them and they go there. But it's a picture of me like holding this book. My face is red and puffy and tear stained. Like I just finished it and I'm like, I'm ruined, but I loved it. I think everyone deserves their own Justin. Anyways, this is my favorite book of the year. Now one of my favorite books of all time. And like I said, I'm terrified for Say You'll Remember Me. Like, I'll need to take time off work. All right, friends, those are my top 10 favorite books of 2024. Let me know in the comments down below what your number 1 book of 2024 was. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Please do remember to like and subscribe, and until next time.